Welcome to BCU STEAM Podcasts, where we explore how teaching and learning across our university are shaped by the principles of STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, the arts and mathematics, and how they align with our BCU 2030 vision as a teaching-first institution. Today, I'm joined by Nick, from this point on, Irvin, who teaches in, and you might as well tell us what you teach in and kick off this part of the podcast.
Thanks, Tom. So, I'm senior lecturer. I specialise in design management. That's predominantly my role within BCU. But also it extends beyond that to my kind of philosophy of teaching, which is kind of experiential and engages students through what we call STEAM practice. For me, the approach is collaborative. It's highly engaging, and for me it's about engaging to provide confidence. Ultimately, this environment it can be frightening. It can be quite nerve-wracking for students, and I think what we try to do is develop a kind of a creative culture, a collaborative culture, and an opportunity to engage in an inclusive environment that welcomes different perspectives from all over the world.
It's wonderful that you brought in from all over the world, because we can definitely breach that topic later on, because I know how important that was for you to go and have that very much interdisciplinary aspect, but not necessarily just for industry in Birmingham or the UK, but worldwide as well. Before we get going and really delve into it, could you tell me what the word STEAM means to you in your teaching context?
It's a pedagogical approach. It's an opportunity for lecturers, educators, academics to explore teaching and learning through, for me, a creative context. It brings a range of different disciplines together to form really interesting, fun, exciting, innovative outcomes. And whilst that's going on, it also provides an opportunity for students and learners to grow, to develop that confidence, to develop those disciplines within those areas of study. But it also extends beyond their course study or field that they're exploring into other areas that might provide new opportunities. It provides opportunities for learning and exploring with others, ideas generation, prototyping. I'm very much involved in getting students to what we call ideate, form ideas, but before that, actually empathising with the user, the client, industry, to explore global problems. And that's essentially what we do within my teaching.
In terms of global problems, what recently have you brought into the classroom where your students have been? We're 4 or 5 weeks into the first semester now. Have you brought in any of those problems into the classroom already, and therefore what has the student experience been like?
So I'm preparing for a forthcoming module that's all about self.
Cool.
So students are obviously expected to deliver when they're in industry, but actually this is about developing who am I?
We talked about this a long time ago, didn't we?
Where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
What do I aspire to be? What are my goals? So this is about getting the students to think creatively, yes, but also theoretically about themselves, reflecting on theorists, viewpoints, authors, but also models, mindsets, and engaging with design thinking perspectives as well, to kind of find out, well, who am I? Where am I going? What kind of person do I think I am? And where do I need to develop those skills? Maybe I'm lacking, or that I need development on to get me where I need to be. So it's identifying my strengths, but it's also identifying areas, maybe your shadow, maybe your areas that you think that maybe you feel that you need development on, and exploring those in a deeper context. And yes, it takes students through those fear factors.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it, but I think by the end of it all, it brings out what I call a transformation, a transformative experience for those learners to find out something more about themselves that maybe they didn't realise before.
Well, yeah, you're asking learners to go in to really do a self-diagnosis of what are their weakest links, the things that they're struggling with the most, and therefore then asking them to then create something, to, as an action plan, let's say, to go and have that room for self-development. So, yeah, it's something that students will really, I suppose, as a whole, struggle with. People as a whole struggle with. So then how do you broach that then? How do you get students past that initial feeling?
Well, I mean, and this is where STEAM comes in.
Yeah.
So it's about engaging students in STEAM-related practice where you might be involving them in an activity that might be engaging a group collaboratively, but we might turn it on its head so that they do it as a group, as a peer group, but actually they're learning and identifying where maybe they need to develop. So maybe they're learning from their peers. Maybe we introduce kind of gamification. Maybe we introduce interesting performative environments where students can actually engage and present their work to fellow students, maybe in small groups. Yes, it's challenging, but also we're actually pushing students to actually push the boundaries and engage them in a greater depth, to develop their knowledge in that field, but also to find out more about kind of who they are and where they want to be. Yeah,
I think in podcast 2, one of the phrases that's really stuck with me is allowing students to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and if you're having learners taking part in, yes, gamification is now done across the globe in FE and in HE.
Yeah.
But the role playing and those sort of peer-based learning techniques where you have the learners presenting in front of each other, there are going to be levels of uncomfortability for every learner, levels, yes, but how they overcome those and how they are then able to go and put that into context of the assignment or the assessment that you're setting is an easy way of being experiential, like you mentioned at the very, very beginning. Yeah,
I think just to expand on that, I think students will be going out or maybe are already in employment or they're reaching to excel to employment. Yeah. And I think, the challenges today are as great, if not greater, than they were before.
Of course.
And, students need to demonstrate their skills. They need to maybe identify skills that they thought that maybe they didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think this environment does that and encourages that.
It's their social and cultural capital, isn't it? What they're bringing into the classroom is not necessarily that the students don't deem it to be very important, but in actual fact, the skill sets that they're picking up just babysitting, or the skills that they're picking up working in their corner shop is invaluable if they see the benefits of what they're doing. And bringing those into the classroom is going to be key. I'm looking into now STEAM Foundations, and I've titled this part The Blend of Disciplines.
Yes.
And the purpose is exploring how your teaching combines arts, humanities, science and technology, kind of like things that are vastly different to one another, but then done well can bring in some exemplary teaching. How do creativity, critical thinking, or digital rigour come together in your practice?
There's an art to it, of course, but it's about engaging students critically with dialogue, engaging them with tasks, problem solving, but being kind of exploring what criticality actually is, and students actually being able to demonstrate reflection, in action, on action, but also being able to look at different perspectives, engage with other students, look and listen and look and learn from other perspectives, from a local or a global perspective, and actually gain from that, or maybe to take those on as various different viewpoints for consideration.
I was sat in a classroom doing an observation, and there were two students who were debating, turned into an argument, but mostly debating. But both were debating on the same topic, differences of opinions. Yeah. Both opinions justified with research and literature, and it was brilliant. And both the students fell out with each other in the lesson. I can't believe you're having that opinion. I can't believe you're thinking in this sort of manner. And the lesson stopped, and it moved on. I was like, no. There's an opportunity here for each of these people to be each of us critical friends.
Yes.
Note-taking should be really prevalent within the students that are in the classroom, pinpointing those sort of things happening, because that was criticality in a nutshell, right in front of each other, in front of the whole group that was there. So spotting those opportunities to debate, but noting why debate is so important at the same time.
I think it's about providing that inclusive practice to enable those conversations to go ahead. Obviously without a fight in between. But I think we need to encourage that debate, to consider those perspectives as critical viewpoints, because that's all part and parcel of looking at, as what I call, at through different lenses. We talk about the design lens from where I come from, and the kind of whether it's the double diamond model, or we talk about kind of a design process, empathizing with the user and so forth. But actually, it could just be about considering different viewpoints and then kind of coming up with a rationale based on insights from that. And that's essentially what we're getting students to do, is to not look at it from a descriptive level, but consider problems, challenges from a range of perspectives, to demonstrate that depth, to demonstrate that analysis of and synthesis of the data, to form insightful outcomes, whatever that creative outcome might be. In an environment which is, as I say, is inclusive, but it's also creative, collaborative, and considers those viewpoints across the table.
Across the table, but then not necessarily across the table. If we want to really embrace STEAM, it's across the university, and in your case, then across the sea. So, where did this TNE? Where did this come into your world?
So, part of my practice, obviously, is around internationalisation and TNE, transnational education. But it kind of, what I found from working overseas and also working in the classroom here on campus was the importance of those debates and kind of what would we call insights from those various different viewpoints from across the world were highly important to get those ideas across. So so really thinking about kind of those experiences and how students benefit from those in a range of different ways, to form opinions, to form insights, to get viewpoints, and essentially create new innovations, which is what we're looking to get students to do, is to lead an idea, become leaders, demonstrate that ability to communicate problems, and then obviously win over the hearts and minds of whoever that audience may be, client, collaborator. And we found this out with me working overseas, kind of exploring that with students over in Hong Kong. It was also happening here, but it was providing me with an interesting kind of insight into how the world's operating, how we collaborate, how we engage.
Yeah, it's for me, it's one of those, when working with our 21st century learners, the meaning of behind the learning is key.
Yes.
So having something that is a hollow experiential learning, so something that isn't necessarily made up, it's hypothetical, isn't necessarily going to have it's not going to get the students in the heartstrings as such, but bringing something that is genuine, that is now almost competitive. Can the students here at BCU do something within a realm of this problem that's happening in Hong Kong, but do a better job of those students in Hong Kong. Yeah. That competitiveness.
But using that holistic approach, which I think works really, really well, and that's what makes, for me, STEAM work exceptionally well, is the opportunity to take on those different perspectives, to see what's possible, explore new horizons, new insights. And so, those alternative perspectives form that criticality, which I think we need.
100%. On that, because we've gone into where BCU and learners within Hong Kong, if there was an opportunity for us to maybe, or look to describe an example where students connected from different disciplines, not necessarily on the same course, but in different countries, but in different disciplines. Have you been in a situation where you could offer an example?
Absolutely. So one of my modules that I deliver is called Global Perspectives, and Global Perspectives engages students in different design challenges using kind of design process, STEAM practice, but it's looking at themes that maybe contemporary themes that maybe we need to address locally within our own towns and cities, but also globally as well. So welcoming students from, for example, engaging with a student who's maybe working in finance, to somebody who's working as a designer, to working with a student that maybe is working in a completely different field, in maybe science or digital, to bring in those insights, that knowledge, that engagement, those expertise. More often than not, we engage students in group-based activity, so we're going to mix those students up into those different disciplines. To provide those insights from a range of different perspectives.
I think that at course level, that could be phenomenal. In Grad Plus weeks, equally as impressive for learners to take part in these, especially at level 4, to be welcomed into what would be such a collaborative, interdisciplinary aspect of teaching and learning.
Absolutely.
Could be phenomenal. But when it's placed within a module, and then it's implicitly led by the course leads, even more impactful. What did students come away from? Because that was hosted in STEAMhouse, wasn't it? I put my head around the door to come and say hi.
You were there for that. The outcome was transformative in that, having reflected on what students had learnt, what they'd engaged with, they enjoyed the fact that they, first of all, weren't put in front of a long lecture. The engagement was short, snappy. Students would be involved in a short activity. They'd be engaged in a collaborative problem. They would then present that back to maybe the rest of the group, or in units or in teams, and then they'd be involved and introduced to another concept or another model or a new insight that maybe they need to be aware of, or maybe address as part of that wider problem. And what we found was that students came out of it kind of enlightened, but also energized. And I think that's one of the things that has stayed with me with STEAM, is the energy that STEAM brings and opportunity that STEAM brings to the mix.
It's the opportunity. I think, and the confidence you have in utilising STEAM almost as a badge to go. I'm going into this practicing STEAM attributes within my teaching and learning, and it gives us, the practitioners, then the confidence to go and do something that might be slightly more elaborate in its design, and in design thinking, in design thinking strategies within the classroom. I don't see many people doing it, and again, it could well just be done in a small, minor way. And again, I can't have my head in every single door, but I know people who are using it, and every single member of staff who is always celebrates it and suggests what an impact it has on learners in that metacognitive way, in the way in which it gets students to be the proactive learner within the classroom.
Absolutely, and I think the reason why that works well is because it welcomes students to think critically. It also engages students to collect evidence and define that evidence, but then also come through that kind of creative ideas stage, where students are then able to kind of collectively think, well, okay, how can I best use my skills to develop that idea? And then it's about kind of exploring the prototyping, building, making, creating. Even better still, it makes it fun, it's exciting. And then what I like is then the kind of stepping back and reflecting on it and then seeing, okay, let's test it, let's explore it, let's break it apart, and then reflect on that process again. And I don't know, I just feel that it provides students with opportunities to kind of say, well, where do I fit in here?
Yeah.
How can I best use my skills to kind of contribute to this?
Yeah.
And maybe utilise the skills of the other members of the team in maybe another way. Maybe some are research focused. Maybe some are purely creative heads.
Yeah.
So for me, it's collaborative, but it's highly inclusive. And I see it as certainly a way forward in bringing everyone together.
Yeah.
And I think it's also happening now in industry. So obviously you're seeing it happen in industry.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
We're engaging with collaborators, external clients. We work with industry overseas, and studios, offices, practices. They're all using this kind of mindset as a way, in a way the same, in a similar way, to get across maybe a concept or realise a solution that they're trying to address.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for that. We'll look at the STEAM attributes and in the knowing, doing and being.
Okay.
We kind of have been doing that as we have been moving beautifully through this first part of the podcast. And just as you started talking about drawing out employability, or at least techniques that employers are using, we can probably go through this element here quite, not necessarily quickly because I think it's really important, but at least we have confidence in the fact that it's already been kind of talked about. So the knowing, doing and being is supported by the 6 C's, which BCU are utilising as STEAM attributes in critical thinking and creativity, collaboration and communication, and citizenship and change readiness. So in knowing, we've talked about creativity, we've talked about critical thinking, but so I'll maybe move past that first question. Feel free to answer it if you want to anyway. But what helps students link knowledge across fields or apply it creatively?
I think if I could just start by saying, I'm just going to connect to reflection a minute and Dewey's approach. And for me, this is about active learning experiences. Cool. And this is what resonates with me is that kind of shared knowledge, building on what we've identified from insights, looking at various viewpoints. We talked earlier about alternative perspectives. I think all of this is important in the kind of the knowing, the kind of looking at that from a critical perspective is really, really important. But then it's about how do we get those students to kind of demonstrate and share those findings? How do we get them to think about how they're going to explore it through experimentation? That is another area that I find fascinating. And it's also, in some ways, it kind of makes me smile because it just, that experimentation enables creativity within the classroom environment. And when I talk about the classroom environment, I don't mean just in the classroom in BCU. It could be anywhere. We've done this externally, like I said, overseas. We've done that. We've explored this in practice, and I'm finding that when students have got that, or learners have got that kind of collaborative engagement, it doesn't matter where it takes place. It can happen anywhere. Then you talk about being and leading by direction. And I think the other thing that I want to say is that students then demonstrate that they own their work rather than like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a really lovely point. Matt Grimes on the first podcast ventured into something along the lines of we don't necessarily call learners, we call learners employees taking a break to upskill themselves. and therefore you're going to have more of an ownership over your work
Yeah.
when you're taking it forward. So that ownership, is key. Yeah, please continue.
No,
Lovely link.
No, it's fine, and I think that's the thing that I feel with the being is about the ownership.
Yeah.
Leading, owning, commanding, but in such a variety of ways, and that shines a light on kind of that confidence building, which is what we're trying to achieve. Most students just don't know. They're unsure, or they're fearful because they're not sure whether if they'll get it wrong, they might get told off, or they might get laughed at, or whatever. Yeah. But actually, it's about just experimenting and exploring this.
Well, yeah, the more you experiment, the more you'll make mistake, and if you make plenty of mistakes and you get comfortable in doing so, then it's not a big deal if you make one in the future. So you're more readily available and willing to go and do so. And if you have that environment in the classroom, but you can also get the learners to be as autonomous as they are on your courses, then they're going to do that in any space that they want to. Yeah.
I think this space also allows students to become or increase maybe their mindfulness. We also talk about ethics and kind of looking at kind of ethical practices, and I think this kind of process encourages students to look at it from those lenses as well. I think that is really, really important, and I think what we're trying to develop here is someone who maybe has a multi-skilled, multi-centered approach to their experience, but also their practice, so that they're not simply one-trick ponies or mindful or expertise in one area. They can demonstrate skills, in lots of areas.
Yeah.
And I think that STEAM allows that. STEAM enables that kind of process to
100%.
take place.
Yeah. I think quite a lot of people in conversations in corridors are asking how they would make a module STEAM. And one of the big things in the guidance packages is that, yes, that is a doable thing, but just having a module that is STEAM is probably the wrong way to go about it. Is there a way in which we can make it the course and eke it in and build it up as best we can? If one module just really does go, that links beautifully to as many of the attributes that you can find in STEAM, then please do so, and the guidance package will help you in doing so. But how you embed it within a course is going to be key. Do you have, in terms of where you started fitting and utilising and embedding and squishing things into your courses, do you have any tips for people that maybe are listening that you could recommend?
Absolutely, yes. So as part of my practice, I also have developed the curriculum, and I've built a couple of courses. And one of the areas that I've recently developed is kind of flexible blended learning.
Okay. And
with flexible blended learning, this enables students, learners, academics, everyone involved, to be part of something which is kind of dynamic and flexible to the learner. So it might be that they engage in person in the classroom, in the physical sense, but they might then engage with something kind of in a peer group session that may involve you engaging with digital content. And I think the importance of engaging either with Moodle or some kind of digital perspective is being used in industry today. Obviously we've got AI, engaging with AI, working with it, and seeing how that kind of interrelationship between digital, in-person, online engagement, in-person engagement, working with industry, it creates an interesting dynamic. And also it enables variety. It enables students with different learning needs to engage with those different areas. if that makes sense.
The variety.
The variety is really, really important.
Yeah, and something that was in my mind going, well, of course, every course is going to have variety based within it, but I don't know. I think the way in which I was thinking about it, I feel the expanse of the variety for again, and you basing it upon now all learners will have something that they are supported in doing and feel confident in accomplishing, completing. Run me through the variety, because I thought that was a point that could be really focused on.
To expand on it was just kind of exploring a range of different models that I'd explored as part of that curriculum design. And one of them was around, getting students to explore through acquisition, so acquisition of knowledge, collaboration of the evidence, maybe working together, but also then how do they ideate, how do they engage with their fellow peers, and then how might that kind of look like how we might develop the curriculum, how might we develop the teaching and learning, the delivery, down to every single session, and how we might kind of alternate that process at granular level was really important in that kind of exploration of that flexible blended approach. So kind of seeing where, okay, have we got too much of this kind of activity happening? Have we got too many lectures here, too many seminars, or, where do we fit in that opportunity for that learning experience to take place? How do we engage with industry? That needed to be factored into the kind of the makeup and the creation of that course. So I thought that was really, really important, and understanding kind of all the way through the process, why are students here? Why are students on this course? What are they actually going to get from at the end of it? What are they reaching for? What kind of a student are we creating?
These are the questions.
Or employee, future employee.
And I think that those are the questions that need to be really at the forefront of anything that is being designed in terms of courses, modules and lessons. What do the learners want out of this? Why are the learners here? Where do they want to go? And and why is that? And then how can we formulate learning environments that is going to be effectively preparing them for jobs? And people say this a lot of the time now in conversations with me and fellow members of EDS. The jobs that we're training them for may not even exist yet. So where is that advantageous, innovative learning coming if we have the license to do so? Because we're potentially preparing them for jobs that don't exist yet. So why aren't we having fun with?
That's right. And why not have fun with the research that you might be specialising in as an academic? Why not kind of engage with partners that you aspire to engage with? And that certainly was the case for me, obviously with my Global Perspectives module, my teaching and learning overseas, my transnational education curriculum design. All of those things were kind of a link to who do I aspire as an educator or an academic to want to engage with, to then translate that practice within the classroom setting. So it developed my network. The STEAM learning developed my global connections. It enabled opportunities to, for teaching collaboration, for new projects, new opportunities for students to go on site visits. All those things didn't happen without the planning of integrating my interests, my research, my, what I feel is important to me. And I think that's what, as academics, we need to kind of get to the bottom of is who are we, what do we want to deliver, and how are we going to deliver it?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on about the ownership that the learners take of their work, but it's the ownership of the courses that we tend to deliver. If we have more ownership over that and put ourselves into it, then it does lead on to greater things.
Yeah, you've got to feel it. And for me, although it probably sounds a little corny,
no, I don't think so.
I think you've got to feel it in your heart to want to be able to do it and to make it work. And that was certainly the case for me. I was passionate and enthusiastic about these particular things. and I wanted to make those connections work into something which was results driven. It was fun, exciting, engaging, but also brought people together, because that's what I wanted to create, was that kind of bringing everyone together to form this kind of interesting community.
Yeah. And there is definitely that community, isn't there? It's being built up again now, but via the work that's being conducted as part of the 2030 vision, and definitely there's the STEAM pillar as part of that. But again, just being able to go and do this right now is due to the fact that this community of practice is growing.
Yeah.
So it's leading on to something that is potentially very, very, very supportive, and celebrating that what's already been done, but also the inclusion of more STEAM-based attributes into teaching and learning in the future.
I can support that. I know a lot of colleagues here that support that process and that approach, and I think it is growing. And I'd be happy to share that, and support it through future work. We could work on larger projects across the university and wider to kind of celebrate that.
Yeah. Again, the previous host on episode 2 is Harper, who is the project lead for Innovation Fest, and so the way in which Innovation Fest is supportive of those members of staff who are really embodying fantastic teaching techniques, fabulous assessment, but also the way in which STEAM is embedded within those sort of things is going to be done there as a showcase. The content developed via this process now will also go and do that, but then again, STEAM-based training days and stuff like that can very much be the case. There's already so much the guidance package being built, but also the ways in which members of staff who are maybe struggling to find, they may know what they want to go and do, but they're struggling to go and find that link or that person to go and do so, go and create that with them. So for example, there are how sports and fashion could go and link together. How I am a former sports teacher, everybody, so a lot of my examples are going to be sport and biosciences. Yeah. Let's look at testosterone levels in this. Let's look at the way in which, for example, in China we had tennis players passing out and puking up. Sorry, everybody. But how does the heat have an impact on players' cardiovascular systems? There are so many ways in which you could link your course to a fellow course within your school, and now we are in these schools, and we can really find ways in which the different departments can rally together to go and have that interdisciplinary cross disciplines. Could well really, really benefit teaching and learning as a whole. Could help our students improve their sociability and be able to go and maximise the learning that's taking place there.
I was just going to support that and just wicked. Say, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about kind of exploring, what I've done is exploring contemporary themes, looking at different perspectives, looking at, global problems that we face. Some of those as an example, health and well-being, sustainability, but then bringing those partners, those connections, those industry, academic links, whatever, together to actually bring that kind of dynamic.
Well, there are leads for all of those big terms that you mentioned at BCU who are so invested in those massive projects that the university are going to want them to be promoting. Yes, get these people in your classroom. Yeah, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs out there for our graduates to go and take up on green space, sustainability. And if we could work our modules to be able to go and link to green, to sustainability, to the way in which that is being looked at, the students could be in for a fantastic future, especially if we're sparking interest in them in such an early stage. It could be great. We are promoting it, and we are doing some wonderful things, saying some wonderful ways in which we have done it in the past, and the way in which we are intending to go and do it for this academic year. But I'd like to understand from your perspective what challenges and barriers you come up against, and what you've faced from maybe a systemic viewpoint, from a from a BCU standpoint or from a personal standpoint?
Yeah. I think the challenges can be initially setting this up, working together, collaborating, building your network is something, not necessarily a challenge, but if staff or academics, fellow colleagues haven't got that network base, I think I'd encourage them to develop one, because it certainly worked for me. I think the other areas are around budgets.
Yes.
Course budgets. WAM allocation.
Yeah.
Opportunity to go and visit places as well. Confidence, absolutely. Yeah. So there are some challenges around that. I think as a creative, as someone who works or has worked with a lot of creative colleagues, I think it's just about experimentation, and I think just enjoy it and explore it, and see what try it. If it doesn't work, try it another way.
I want to echo that, because I think and also involve the students in the fact that, and letting them know that you are trying something new.
Yes.
Because that gives the learners such a confidence in the fact that if they see their lecturers, their academics, their trusted personnel within these students' lives trying something new and putting themselves out there, then they're more likely to go and do it. And therefore that can have a real benefit in that bond between students and teachers, and create a link between them as well at the same time.
I took a risk as well. I decided to get a series of what I call global collaborators to engage with me, which sounds really exciting, but it did come with its challenges as well. So flying people in from the States is great, but it's potentially expensive. And I was very fortunate that the people that I got involved with did it as part of another business trip. So
Nice.
I was very fortunate. I'm not saying that could be the same for other staff. However, what's interesting is what they can bring to the mix, and I also say this because I also did an online kind of guest appearance from somebody in Indonesia, again from another institution. That global perspective provided another kind of lens and another viewpoint, which was really, really useful. However, it was online, so we were sharing that digitally through the MS Teams or what have you. And again, that has its limitations. You've got to have somebody here kind of orchestrating something in the room whilst they're on the screen. So there are benefits of having people here in person, but there are also challenges, of course, with tech, using digital, and also recording sessions. That can be challenging, and I know staff have done this for a number of years now, but even getting your head around that as an academic,
and the new system in Panopto at the same time,
using Panopto, it just takes a bit of time to get used to. But once you've got it, you literally record your screen and you can go off and do your thing, and then there's the editing feature after that.
Of course.
But we found that students want to see what's happened during those sessions, or at least get the concept of that. So I would encourage staff to record sessions, but potentially not the whole of the session. It could be that this may be a summary, or maybe there's an insight from that session, or maybe there's some uploads or a video from students or something that kind of brings that kind of element to that session.
In a creative and innovative way. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be the whole learning session, the whole hour. That's something that I would definitely shout out now. Please do not go and record hour-long recordings. No. We can go for cognitive overload. There's going to be a lot of information to go and take in at any one time. Yeah, that short snippet, but in terms of the way in which you can then be interjecting elements with questions and quizzes, but also student interface, different readings to take part in to supplement the learning at the same time, and again offering the variety. I think this is one of the big things here, is that the way in which the course offers variety. Every single session offers a level of variety. to go and really benefit the learning and the learners at the same time.
I think the other thing, you asked me about challenges and barriers. I think the other thing is about developing resources. Now, I know this is also an opportunity, but it was also a barrier or a challenge because, yes, you might be up against financial budgetary constraints, but also it's about developing or having the time management, time planning to create that in advance. And I think, if I know staff are very, very busy, but if they have the opportunity to have time to develop those resources beforehand, it can make it a really rich experience.
I think, but yes, absolutely. Designing it yourself and having the ownership over it is key. There are also multiple different departments within this university that are willing and able to be able to support you in the production of that sort of equipment.
Yeah.
Whether that be workshop templates for design thinking activities or something else. STEAMhouse has plenty of facilities for that. The university itself has those departments that can assist you in that and building up the variety of tools that you can have at your disposal, which again goes without saying, I think, but definitely worth a mention on here for those who are potentially listening, because there are people that work in silo, people that work very much on their own, and therefore they are going to find it difficult to go and have that variety in their activities.
And I think it goes back to my conversation about networking. Excuse me. And the importance of collaborating with, like you said, STEAMhouse colleagues, maybe people within your own environment, maybe within your own specialism, but also the Educational Development Service, so EDS.
Not anymore. We'll be changing soon.
You are changing. I know you're changing, but the colleagues there provided me with a lot of support in respect of any blended learning or digital expertise that maybe I didn't have at the time, or maybe I needed some help with. They were there to provide that.
What do you foresee as being really good opportunities for collaboration with disciplines across different schools?
I think, you mentioned about Innovation Fest.
Yeah.
More activities like that, conducting conferences. I found my experience of developing symposiums and conferences really, really helpful, because you can share your practice and then you can kind of say, I didn't know you did that, and I didn't. And that's where this kind of network builds. And also that kind of audience participation, engagement, getting everyone together is really, for me, I know we're all different, but and we all have different needs and perspectives, but for me it was about engaging with people, engaging with like-minded individuals that wanted to kind of make it work. It was about developing that event, developing that symposium, to engage with all those different partnerships to form something brilliant. I think just on that, because it was evident within the session that we mentioned earlier on, where you had your guests over from America, the one that I was able to put my head into. That, and then the symposium that I was invited to as well, to come and say hello. There was so many opportunities afforded in these learning environments where learners went, and had a eureka moment. I call them the eureka moments. They had that light bulb moment. I've had a really good idea. And that education is hitting when you get learners doing that off their own accord. But the whole point about that cross-discipline, cross-school work is providing the learners with that shift in thinking, with the opportunity to create, to ideate at the same time. So I think that is going to be vastly important moving forward. We're on to a quick fire close. Oh God! Unless we haven't done a quick fire close in episode 1 or 2, but I feel like I can go and do a quick fire close. Nick, describe your STEAM teaching philosophy in 3 words. Experiential. Collaborative. Cool. And creative. Okay. And of the 3, which is the most important? That's a hard one.
Yes, it really is.
Because I love all three.
Okay.
I think for me it's collaborative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not just necessarily students collaborating with each other, it's the students collaborating with the educators, it's the educators collaborating with the educators, it's the educators collaborating with people.
And wider.
Yeah.
And then locally,
yeah,
regionally,
yeah,
nationally, and then globally.
Yeah.
That, I love creativity,
mm-hmm.
and that stems through me with everything I do. There's something about, with STEAM, there's something about that collaborative
mm-hmm.
connection
Yeah.
that seems to run through me with everything that we do.
Yeah.
That is really, really important. Yes, you can go solo. There's
mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with going solo. But I think there's something about that kind of getting everyone together creates this spark. It's like, it's an energy. It's a form of energy.
The people that take you up on these opportunities are similar-minded in a collaborative response. They're reaching out themselves at the same time, and you're just giving them something to grab hold of. If you can start to be that olive branch for people, then yes, people are going to take your hand, and they are going to allow you to lead them. It brings me to a really good link again. I'm trying my very best to find ways to connect each episode back. In episode 2, there was what leadership is, and what followership is. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's followership, and it was brought up by Mersha. And I was thinking, do you have a perspective on that? Because I know she's a colleague within the same department and the same school. Leadership and follow
my lead.
Yeah,
I do, and I resonate with it. I think we're role models, or we're seen as role models.
Yeah,
and I also see what we deliver as is something that obviously students or learners or
mm-hmm.
whoever we engage with
mm-hmm.
label us
and
connect with us. So maybe we are that we are creating that following. But I think it's really important.
When it was mentioned and I overheard it, I resonated with it in just I went back 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's poignant because it's about podcasting. Podcasting had just started, and I was like, I wanted to really start playing with the assessment methods with my learners, and all of a sudden I'm noticing that the learners are coming in, their AirPods in, like AirPods, there would have been earphones in, and it wasn't music that I was usually hearing through their earphones, so you can imagine how loud it was. And then it was starting to be podcasts, and I was like, okay, do you want to start to create these sorts of podcasts? And in that, I was able to go and speak to the media labs. I was able to go and speak to the college's media team to go and say, do we have a microphone? Do we have apps on our phones that we can start to use to embrace this digital-ness within FE at this point that was?
Yeah.
And that started me on that gravy train of looking to create and be innovative every single year to embed a level of improvement or variety with what we were talking about earlier on, which is why I resonated so well with that. So it does sometimes just takes one small thing to go and see, but with me, mine was always student-centred. Mine was always, what do the students want? So to lead back to my initial question about being a follower, I think there's the advantageous element of a teacher being a follower of what the learners are bringing to the classroom at the same time could well be key. And then you just have that, because they'll follow you at the same time.
Yeah, to me it's like then it could be circular, but then it could,
for the sake of the podcast, both Nick and I are dancing.
We're
right
kind
now.
of waving our hands around. But I do feel it's a cycle.
Yeah.
And it can't be a one-way.
No.
Can't be a one-way street.
I definitely agree.
Because you've got to kind of be in tune with everyone, really, not just the learner either. To be mindful of kind of where to hit, where to kind of engage, where to kind of come off, apply the brake, so to speak. I think that's really. I think term is quite interesting, actually. Follower. We follow them, they follow us.
Or we lead them, they
lead us. Yeah.
What is it? Yeah.
They become owners of their own work.
Yeah.
That ownership. Whilst we're also kind of owning and leading our own path. I don't know, but it's interesting.
It's really good food for thought, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. We will finish with this then. There's been advice throughout.
Yes.
And hopefully staff members who are looking to build STEAM-based practices or looking to break down what STEAM is into its individual attributes to really start to apply those to certain specific parts to their courses. But do you have a key piece of advice that you could offer members of BCU starting out embedding STEAM about what they could do next?
Well, for me, I go back to what I said earlier, that STEAM encourages energy and opportunity to a wider audience to enable participation. That's kind of where it sits with me. So as a bit of advice, I mean, I would say develop your network, develop your creativity skills, or develop, be experimental, and have fun, because I find the most successful outcomes are when I've actually really enjoyed it and really engaged the process through a fun idea. And I'll say one more thing. You said about pushing it year on year. You can get bored doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to actually push the envelope yourself. And for me, it's just great to be innovative. It's exciting, and it provides that new opportunity for energy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is, isn't it? You can always fall back on what it was that you were comfortable doing if mistakes happen, and mistakes are bound to happen. If you look at it as a learning experience, which isn't catastrophic in terms of course or module design, then you can lead with fun, and the students will follow.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.